Hey, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Today we're going to do something different. Normally, the way I organize or program my episode is, I call it the Markov chain method. As today's choice was based on yesterday's content, because at least one character has to come from yesterday's phrase. So today I call it off chain. Like we're not doing on this Markov chain anymore. We broke off our condition, and I like to give me, the creator, the liberty to do so, because I came across this poem, and when I had it before when I was a child, but then when I revisit, it hit me as something that's so beautiful that I want to share. I hope the audience of this channel will appreciate that. It's basically a poem written 1,000 years ago by a guy. I mean, most of the poems back then are men because they are educated. They read a lot of literatures. So it's called Song Dynasty. So this guy wrote this probably in his, I don't know, 40s or 50s, that he looks back on his life and start to have some, visions about what happened, and in a very brief forms, basically tell the life story of him without a major events. It's universal. It's everybody. It can happen to any one of us. Okay, let me read I'm not going into details of each character, and here I'm just going to give you an overall the sense of the poem. Okay, 虞美人听雨. That's a title. 虞美人 is a type of plant. It's a poppy. But here, 虞美人 is actually a song title. So it's a kind of like a pop song back then. 1,000 years ago, people liked the tune, and poets, famous or not, like to fill up the words, the lyrics for the song. So that becomes kind of their, muscle flexing for creative people to show, okay, this is my version of the lyrics of the song, and kind of outbeat each other. Okay, so the title, so the song name, and then the lyrics name. Okay, so we know, it was lost because song back then, we don't have recordings, so we don't exactly know how it sounds like. But whoever fill out this have to follow the same pattern to meet the beat, right? And then the title is called Rain Listening. So that's the lyric. So by now we are left only with the lyrics. So we can just regard, okay, this is a poem, Rain Listening. Okay. 少年听雨歌楼上，红烛昏罗帐. Okay, you can read the translation I put on the screen there. So basically, it's the beginning, the first stage of life when he was a young man. So this act of rain listening is the thread that goes through 3 different life stages of his. This is the first one, and it gives you the environment where he listened to the song. 歌楼, I translate as song chamber. Basically, it's an entertainment place that people go. I guess people with a certain social status who have the money and the leisure to go there to enjoy themselves. So as a young man, that's where he spent his time. And you can see the description of the major things in that environment: red candles and dim canopy bed. So here I put a picture of dim canopy bed, because when I was searching for 红烛昏罗帐, this is the image that the people, in our contemporary time, people envisioned how this was represented, and what does it mean, 昏罗帐? So I guess this is somewhere southern to China, that the bedroom, mostly they are going to use, people with certain status, I guess, that can afford to have the bed with the canopy. I guess that's a kind of mosquito net function, but they make it decorative. And you can see red is the color that goes through this environment. And I guess this is a kind of a cultural preference, a switch saying that in the Western as well as in this context, that the red color is kind of seductive. It's related to entertainment in a particular form. So, okay, so back then, like no moral judgment back then. Like if you can afford to have your time over there, nobody judge. That's how he put it even in this lyrics. So that's his first stage of life. And now the middle part, okay, middle-aged man, 壮年听雨. So same activity, listening to the rain. And it's a different setting. 客舟中，江阔云低，断雁叫西风. Okay, as he aged, the setting changed. Like now, he has to pay the bill, right? He cannot just enjoy himself with his daddy's money, I guess. So that's why he has to, travel a lot. Now, when he listened to the rain, it's on a ferry boat. So apparently, he kind of like work as a businessman. So he on the road. It's kind of I put the word lonely to translate 断雁. So normally the geese, when they fly, they form a shape, right? They line up, form in the sky. So it's a group of them, a flock of them. But 断雁 means singled out. This goose or bird, I don't know particular what kind of bird, that lost its team basically. So 断雁 is like singled out, like left behind. So that's lonely, I translated. And that kind of resonate what he probably felt on the boat, because he's away from family, away from entertainment, away from probably familiar environment, but he has to, no choice. And then the description of the environment is, okay, of course, on the boat, it will be a river and river wide. I regard that as a description of, okay, the world is bigger now, like out of the chamber, outdoor, out in the mountains and rivers, and cloud low. Okay, cloud low gives you a sense of, it's not really a bright, high energy day, but cloud low. So he kind of, the mood set it as chill, low, right? And this lonely geese. And an interesting phenomenon in Chinese poetry or throughout our culture, like we would like to use west wind. It has nothing with the Western, like from Oriental perspective, the Western society. I mean, back then, 1,000 years ago, it was basically imagined place or out of people's imagination, like out of the border of our world, right? We're not realize what the West is about. And 1,000 years ago, you can imagine what the West is in. It's middle age for the West, right? So this West wind has no such connotation contemporary. It's no political at all, but it sets the mood. So whenever poet mentioned west wind, it's kind of chill wind. It's related to geographical conditioning of China, that if the wind came from the west, it feels colder because it's from kind of Siberia, and sometimes with sand. So it's a harsh wind. So that set the tone, and probably related to the season as well. So when you have the single bird flying through the sky, and then in this cold wind, that kind of resonate with the poet. That's how his middle age is spent listening to the rain. So now the third phase. 而今听雨僧庐下，鬓已星星也. Very few words, but you can tell now at this life stage, it's like today, right? It's like a movie frames, right? 3 stages, and now today is when I'm writing this poem, how I was listening to the rain. Now it's 僧庐下. So I guess back then in Song Dynasty, Buddhism was popularized already, and people who want to live out of the world, like out of the system of a social, like economic society, even break out from your family chain. Like you're no longer a chain of your genetic passing down. We talked about Shi before, right? 3 decades is the maximum time allowed to you to give birth to the next generation. So you are a link on that family genetic chain. You have such responsibility. So that monastery, this is to the West too, right? So it's like people break off from that chain. They take themselves out of this world, have no worries and obligations of expectation of how to live there, right? So the only thing when you go to the monastery is to, I guess, to think about life, to meditate, to just spend time without your normal in the world orientation or goals. So maybe by that time he already give in, like already put himself in a monastery, like become a monk, and off the chain of the the social, defined as a social man status, and then his hair already. That's in the Western we use salt and pepper, right? But here sprinkled with stars is such a nice expression. Okay, so this is the the high tone, like after all this description of the 3 stages in life, what he felt at the end, what's his lessons he learned now as a monk already, right? 悲欢离合总无情，一任阶前，点滴到天明. Okay, so here is the poetic part of so throughout the life, you see, at the beginning was enjoying the red chamber, and then the middle is hustle bustle through the life, making money, raising family probably, and now 悲欢离合. When people talk about 悲欢离合, normally it's already they experienced joys and sorrows, ups and downs, and unions and departures. So it's like with someone, loved one, families, departures, like leave. So he could be the one, the survivor of the family that, I don't know exactly what happened, but that's a common human experience, right? But at a certain age, loved ones are going to be not in your life anymore if you are the survivor in the end. And then ever so ruthless. So 总无情, it's like that's the life cycle. It has no regard to your human suffering, the feelings, impact on human. And so it's like it's out of control. It's always going to happen. And then what's the solution? What's the reconciliation? Is okay, let it happen. Just like the rain, let it drop. Like the sorrow or whatever life's impact on you, let it do its thing. That's the natural course. And the setting now is okay. Of course, this person is staying indoor and look at the rain. I put a picture over here, try to give you that visual sense of rain drops off the roof, and we call it the 点滴. So it's a kind of sound imitation. But I couldn't find the English corresponding one. So it's kind of drip drop with a sound with a certain rhythm, but not exactly the predictable sound beats, right? But it's similar. And then on this stairs. So 点滴到天明. So probably this is kind of a nighttime. So it's even quieter. Probably the setting is even sadder. So he's so keen, there's a sadness. But when he talks about daybreaks, it's like, okay, page flipped. Like you cannot stay in that mood forever. That's the end of the tunnel, in this moment. Okay, so here we go. I give you a visual here to try to imagine the sense when the poet was writing this, his heart out in this. And I guess it's quite, because it's a universal human experience, like when you're the young, when you're the middle-aged, pretty accurate, how people feel in different stages of life. And at the end, there's kind of a high pitch going up to give you a summary of what it is all about and how you should face it. Just let it drip drop, the rain dropping. So that come back to the title. This is how you listen to the rain throughout your life. So now let me read it together so that you can have a sense of the rhyming. 少年听雨歌楼上，红烛昏罗帐。壮年听雨客舟中，江阔云低，断雁叫西风。而今听雨僧庐下，鬓已星星也。悲欢离合总无情，一任阶前，点滴到天明。Okay, so here highlight whatever rhymes. In this, you can see the ong sound rhymed strictly and just change the consonant in the front, and then qing and ming. Well, of course, there are tones, so we have to do. This is a shang, this is zhang, this is qing, ming. Even the tone, like rising, dropping, like all that matched. And because it was written 1,000 years ago, so people back then probably speak Chinese differently. And so I suspect the middle portion back then was even rhymed somehow too. And not just the beginning and end, but there's such possibility too, because we don't exactly know the rules back then to make the lyrics filling out the beat of this poppy titled song. But it's beautiful. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, catching to the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.